Ever since the rains started, we have been getting bad news from Himachal and Uttarakhand. The bad news is mainly from the valleys or the slopes close to the rivers. And the damage is being done by flash floods, cloudburst, and the debris thrown around during the road widening or the so-called development work in the hills. And this has been happening over the years. First time, or though not the last time, 2013, Kedarnath was one time, massive one. And then it came out that Kedarnath didn't happen suddenly. There were Geological Survey of India reports advising relocation of all the markets close to the sanctum sanctorum of the Kedarnath. And that report was given by a senior, was probably Deepak Srivastava. Most probably. I hope I'm not wrong. And it was perhaps in 1980. The tragedy happened in 2013. Recently, the Supreme Court has said that Himachal will disappear. Same things have been said about many other valleys. The moot question is, are we to blame? Are we to blame totally or partially? Could we have done something so that it didn't happen? This question has been discussed over and over again. Man-made or God-made, or both. Whatever component is man-made, why is it there? Why were the scientists giving the warnings ignored? When Joshimat happened, it came out that way back in 1938, Professor Ganser, who was my host in Switzerland, and his guru, Haim, they had both gone for field work. Of course, camouflaged as llamas because the British won't tolerate the Swiss coming to do geological field work in the Himalayas. But they had said that Joshimat was located, a small village then, on the soft debris of a glacier which had just gone away. Then all the development work, the so-called development work, I always say so-called development work, the question will always remain whether this development work is customized to the ecosystem of a young and unstable, fragile mountain system, the youngest mountain system of the world, or it is just transposed from Delhi, Gurgaon, Bangalore, Nagpur by thoughtless engineers with no vision of urban geology in the Himalayas. If that be so, it's criminal. It's criminal for us to destroy the delicate, precious ecosystem of the Himalayas and put the lives in homes, schools and hospitals and colleges to danger. At least 15 years back. Then a very respectable channel, Aaj Tak, had talked to me about schools and homes getting split into two in about 273 villages in Uttarakhand and Himachal in the high altitudes. Then also, I had guessed, because I couldn't give a straight opinion on something which is only being described to me, that possibly these are fragile debris on which a village has come up, and a village is expanding into a bigger village. A bigger village has become a town, like Joshimath became, with multi-storied hotels and multi-storied maybe schools and hospitals, and name what you may. The main question is the development in the hills, especially sustainable development without harming the ecosystem of the Himalayas, had to have a roadmap. That roadmap had to have the stakeholders, that's the Himalayan people, the Himalayan Panchayat, the Himalayan students, the Himalayan school teachers, the Himalayan housewives, the Himalayan elders involved. And take up case studies from across the world where such developments happen. 75 earthquake, most probably 75 or 74, in Kinnaur was investigated by two colleagues from Geological Survey, Dr. Om Bhargav and Dr. Shyam Sundar Amida. And the report given was that the PWD made buildings cracked up or totally got finished, and the traditionally made lightweight material were only partly harmed, and no loss of life was reported there. Without a long discussion, I come straight away to the point. In 2017, it was 17, when for many, many years the hills were being recklessly broken along vertical plains or very steep plains to widen the roads, the so-called expressways, the thoughtless expressways had even got some partitions like Gurgaon or other expressways. We used to wonder, who has advised expressways in a fragile Himalayan ecosystem? Then we started seeing reports that 2 hours to Shimla, 4 hours to Manali, 2.5 hours from Dehradun to Badrinath. What the hell it was? Where was this deadly hurry? Why this bullet train psychology? What for? At what cost? Today what's happened, its origin lies in that quackery, that thoughtless, technically poor vision, road widening, heavy multi-storied buildings coming up and coming up crowdedly, coming up in tearing competition, deadly competition, overloading the hills and throwing all the solid waste around nearby instead of using that somewhere. Those could have been, they were all heritage stones. They could have been used in the architecture, in the hills, or anywhere. Bricks could have been made out of those. They could have been housed in some natural history museums. The geologists could have been notified about that excavation and explosions so that precious material coming out could have been documented, located well, and used for education and research. In fact, I was asked a question-answer session by Indian Express, a Kashmiri young journalist who did a full page. And the title I gave, which was carried as such, was, "It's never too late to respect the scientific opinion." But 7 years, now 8 years gone, everybody gave a damn to the scientific opinion. Today, if a village totally gets smashed after a cloudburst, it is a man-made tragedy. Cloudburst, well, ecological change, you cannot say it just happened. You cut millions of trees, millions and millions of trees across Himalayas. You made the green slopes gray with concrete. You've thrown huge blocks of rocks into the valleys thoughtlessly, putting all those living in the valleys to danger. When you have a Chamoli, or you have a Uttarkashi, or you have a Kullu or Mandi flash flood, then what happens? All these rock debris thrown becomes unguided, deadly missile. Even one is enough to smash a village out of existence. What's happened yesterday and day before and has been happening in Himachal and Uttarakhand for 2-3 weeks will always happen. Houses and villages will always be smashed if our system does not behave and does not learn the fundamentals of Himalayan urban geology. Urban geology, urban geological considerations, urban geological parameters are different in delicate hills, and these are different in Indo-Gangetic plains, and these are different in peninsula. And a country where geology and zoology get confused cannot manage it. High time for universal geological literacy through awareness programs, universal geological literacy, all our schools in all classes, and this only can do some damage control. Some only, I'm saying, because we have already done the deadly damage. Time to learn, time to awaken, time to get sensible, time to get sensitive to the Himalayan ecology, time to get a little human, to the Himalayas and the Himalayan people. God bless these innocent souls whose lives are being put to risk by the distant plain wallahs who have no sense of the hills, who have no respect for the hills. It's a very shameful situation. I feel very sorry about it, and I'm very blunt and frank about it. These are all man-made devastations, avoidable ones. Time to get sustainable in mindset, time to get sustainable in practice, time to be cautious, and it's time for the courts to fix responsibility for those who did not listen to any geologists.